What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech once again, and today I'm going to go over the postmortem for the Dynex network going down last night, which we covered live. Of course, because I was covering it live, we did not have all of the details, and there were a couple little things that I did not get exactly correct, so we'll correct those here now today in this video and give you guys the rundown on what changes are going to be made to hopefully permanently fix this in the future. And this is all via some discussions with mining pool operators. Yeti, of course, who is another operator for mining pools there and does a lot of other testing within cryptocurrency as far as vetting coins and so on. And then, of course, the official announcements from the developers within the Discord as well as on their Twitter. So this is all the information that we have on what happened to Dynex yesterday and what is going to happen moving forward. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back, everybody. So first things first, let's go ahead and just get the main rundown that was posted on Twitter by the Dynex team. It says the previous 24 hours were challenging to say the least. We faced severe network issues caused by a scheduled and announced network maintenance in our main DC, which I guess they mean data center, which has gone entirely sideways. There is no way of sugarcoating it. Something like this hurts our miners, our community, and our project and everyone involved, and needs at all costs to be prevented. An out of our control mistake during this maintenance led to significantly exhausting the max allowed counts of prepared database DB, standing for database statements, which is something only our database cluster operator is able to restore. Static statements have been working, and we applied changes in the code to prevent this going forward. Updates have been deployed to all pool operators. Now, this can be confirmed because last night, like we were talking about with these SQL database errors, I have a screenshot here of what was getting reported on the pool op side. And to give you guys an idea, this error code 1461 is usually due to limitations that user is getting from the SQL database. So just imagine that the pool op is going out to get the information from the database. The database is returning and saying, hey, you've exceeded your allotted amount of queries, essentially, sort of. But that can be caused by a plethora of different errors. And at the very least, what we know is this was a database error from the Dynex side. And like I said before yesterday, this is concerning because of the centralized nature of Dynex for distributing this work, and this will have to get resolved in the future. I don't know how it's going to get resolved necessarily, but it does sound like that's being accelerated. You'll see here in just a second. Having said that, this further increases the urgent need to even more redundancy as the first step, which I instructed already being deployed. But more importantly, we need to accelerate the process to remove malware entirely from the miner software. Our team has been working already since a while, I guess, on embedding the proof of useful work data flows seamlessly into the Stratum protocol, which is commonly used with the pools. Current ETA for testing is in around 4 weeks. We will put all of our weight in finalizing this ASAP. I still have a question of, like, if we're running off of a centralized database and the pools have separate malab endpoints that are pointing to the same database, which hopefully is redundant now. Even if that's the case, if they're getting it directly through the Stratum or through the malab endpoint, if all the pools are still pointing to the same database to obtain the work, I think we still have a centralization problem. And so I would like to get more information on how this is going to be implemented into the Stratum, because at the end of the day, for the proof of useful work data flows that are going through the Stratum, if they're still grabbing the work from a centralized database, it's kind of a moot point. It still has the same problem. If the database has issues like it did now, and it's just, basically going through the Stratum, it's still going to have the same issues, right? So I don't know how this necessarily resolves that, other than the redundancy piece, which is separate from getting rid of the malab endpoints as it is. This means that in the near future, miners won't need to connect to any malab endpoints anymore. There will be no more malab services. This will also entirely remove some ongoing malab stability issues and some miners have been facing. Of course, That's great. You'll have more stability. I still don't think that it resolves the centralization portion of this. Looking at our plans and roadmap, we need a reliable network for the commercialization of our platform. We believe that the measurements and development steps taken will be leading us there. We also want to emphasize that we have been very clear from the beginning that Dynex is still a work in progress. We need to build out the ecosystem, and that takes time and effort, given what we are doing has never been done before. And I agree with all of that. I still, like I said, we don't have any standards for proof of useful work yet. Flux is still a ways out from launching theirs. I'll have another call, I think, next week with Daniel Keller of Flux. I'm going to be asking him, what kind of standards are they putting in place with Flux? How does it differ, and so on, right? The results of our work are very promising, and the feedback from our beta users is beyond their expectations, he goes on to say, and there's a lot more to come. Finally, we are conducting a formal review of the pool Miner Add Now, which apparently has or was the only pool being able to communicate through the static prepared statements during this phase. As transparency is important for us, we will issue the results of the investigation of potential measurements in due time. Having that said, we apologize for any inconvenience, and we really appreciate your continued support. So one of the mistakes that I made was stating that basically we were waiting to watch Miner Add Now lose hash rate, but apparently they never did, which I'm still confused about, because if we go to miningpoolstats.com, we do still see the drop off here to 99 mega hash a second from 235 or whatnot. So we still see the drop off at the same time. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on here. You can see that there was a little bit of hash rate left on Miner Add Now, but not a ton. Now, that could be because they have the 30% in there, and that 30% of the network got knocked down that far, I suppose, could be the issue. And so basically Miner Add Now did stay on with a certain amount of hash rate. And then this was still misreporting. 1 gigahash hadn't been fully related into the network hash rate. So that's not how much the unknown hash rate has been on the network. I still have a question of did that miner stay online, which is the between right now it's showing 0.5%, but it could be, it usually goes between 1% and 2%. I am still curious about was that miner able to stay online while the rest of the network went down as well? Interestingly enough, there's been no impact on price. In fact, Dynex is up 5% today after the snafu, with, of course, going down on the SQL side. Very interesting. In addition to that, if you go to hashrate.no, because the network went down and is spinning back up now, it is showing Dynex is most profitable on every GPU until you get down here to the BC250, or I guess maybe the Intel Arcs with Ergo, of course, still. And then a couple weird outliers like the 6400 on Radiant and so on, some of the lower memory capacity GPUs, lower memory bandwidth and capacity GPUs, but pretty much across the board, Dynex is showing most profitable. For those that are mining other coins, this can be very good for you, because I think the focus will go back to Dynex. There will be people rushing to try to make the profitability on Dynex. I don't know if you want to chase it per se. If we look at something like, let's go ahead with the RTX 3070 real quick. Where is this one laying around at? I know it's always here and I lose it. All right, so yeah, if we take a look at the RTX 3070, I think really in second place is Ergo plus Radiant, and then you kind of go down from there, right? So, at the end of the day, I think that you'll see a lot of people kind of hankering for the Dynex solve, trying to get the profitability. I don't presume that will last very long once the difficulty starts to recover on the network. So that's kind of my thoughts. So we've corrected the issue with the Miner Add Now. We corrected the issue with the amount of hash rate from the actual pool that stayed online. Still not clear if that one stayed online permanently or not. And then we have the confirmation that there was basically too many connections going to the SQL database. And then I still have the question of even if you put it in the stratums, is it still getting it, is the proof of useful work data stream still coming from a single database? or I guess hopefully at this point, the same data center at this point, right? And then how redundant is that data center and how redundant is that database? That's the questions. And I'm sure hopefully with transparency and me asking these questions, those get answered. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit the like, comment, subscribe, and notification bells down below. I have a lot more to cover. Don't even get me started on BlockX going down. We have BlockX down. We have Kiri down, something like that. We have a ton of different stuff happening. I'll be covering as much as possible the rest of the week, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Don't forget to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com for my daily moves. And if you'd like a free month of supporter status on locals, it comes with a purchase of my crypto mining e-course at sonofatech.com. I will see you next Tuesday.